And we're live again. Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out another stream. I think this is episode 35, I believe. So we've done 35 weeks now. It's coming along. We're getting up to that 52 mark, which will be fun. If you've been following along with these videos and you like what I'm doing, please throw some likes on my videos. And if you like this video, if you haven't been following along, but you like what I'm doing, also give me a like. And please subscribe. It keeps me motivated. Keeps you guys apprised of my latest streams, and it just keeps you guys cool characters. To subscribe is to love. I don't know. I'm not sure what the term is, but I appreciate it. Just like I appreciate comments in the chat. This is a live stream, so feel free to throw some messages in there if you guys want to talk. If it's after the stream you're checking this out, then feel free to throw a comment in the chat in the channel, and tell me how you think the video went, what things you want to see in the next video, just any thoughts at all. I'm interested in some feedback. Haven't got any in quite a while with this stream. Slowly getting more people along checking out the videos, so always happy about that. Powered by Red Bull again, my friend, the Red Bull, specifically the blue Red Bull. And I don't recall what blue and red makes. Purple, I guess. But they have a purple one too, so it's confusing. This one's delicious though, blueberry. It's my favorite blue. Nice. That's why I've gone with the blue light as well. Okay, without further ado, let's it's such a terrible pun. I'm a dad, by the way, so it's okay to do dad jokes now. That's my right as a father. That's basically why I became a father, actually, is the freedom to do dad jokes. So as far as what we got planned for today, not a lot. I finally took some time off, so last week I had a few days off, but I pretty much still just worked on the code in the evenings. My other job, as like I said, as a dad, keeps me pretty busy anyways. So, but one thing I'm pretty excited that we've added today, that I'll show you we're gonna add it, is Tinymc. And what Tinymc is the WYSIWYG, the most advanced WYSIWYG HTML editor. Long story short, I have a WordPress blog, my blog, dustinbrett.com. Got some blog stuff on there. This eventually will be replaced by my app, and then this will be my homepage. So I'd like to transition my blog and all of their posts to some format in this new magic land. And if we look at my first post here, the Leaving Saskatoon post, I'm going to start by replicating this one, basically. And it's going to be basically visually exactly the same. I haven't decided how I'm going to represent this necessarily. At some point, I'm going to have file properties, so we can have the file itself was made on February 15th, 2011. So if someone wants to know when the post is from, they can do that. And we'll have detail view, so you can sort by date. Should be simple enough. So basically, they're going to be these files, and I'm going to make them. I've decided to make a format called WHTML, which is just like WYSIWYG HTML. The idea of it being is that it's HTML what gets put into this Tinymc to be processed, but it's not like a full HTML document with HTML body, head, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of a snippet. So I've decided to give it a different name versus .html, which I might need later when I make like a browser app or something. This is my app, by the way, making this Windows-esque OS type thing in the browser, but a functional, so to speak, air quotes, functional, does stuff, does more every day. So today we're gonna see it do more stuff. And yeah, let's just jump right in. So I've already been doing the commits throughout the week, and now we're going to apply the commits together as a team. Let's start with the first one, recursive make directory with updates. Okay, this is one to be proud of here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put on lazy mode here, and I'm going to get the patch, get the .patch file from the diff. That's something you can do with GitHub. And then we can jump back to the code, and what I can do here in another window is I can say git apply, and I can point to that patch. It's on my desktop, and it's got some gibberishy name like that, and I can just say enter, and then it'll apply it, and then we'll have the diffs here. And now we have a little bit better time comparing them to kind of see, like, what did I do? So first off, I only changed 3 files. That's nice. Let's see here. So the issue was What was this solving? What was the commit message again? Let me just double check. Let me go back. Right, recursive make directory with updates. I think this is because, yeah, if you want to write to a file that's deeply nested and you want to do make directory, in browser FS, there's no recursive like there is with Node. I could probably have used a package to do it. Like there's some packages that work with Node FS that might have worked with this FS to do recursive, but I decided to implement it myself anyways. Let's go to the file system part first because the .ci and the v86 I think are just using it. Here is the implementation. It looks simple enough. Looks like I needed base name. So yeah, I added another function here called make directory recursive. So instead of doing fs.mkdir, I've made a separate function. It's a similar format where it takes a path and then it takes a callback. It doesn't really give any data. I think make directory was similar. Maybe it was giving errors before. But I'm handling that with my function here. So this is the basic function of how it's working. We got, yeah, the path is a string, and then you get a callback, which gets called here. So we take the path here, we split up the parts based on the slashes, let's say, and then we remove the ones that are empty. I think when this can happen, let's try a test to see why this would happen. I'm trying to remember the logic behind that. If I can't explain it, let's try here. I'm going to do /meow. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see the console better. That's very zoomed in. /meow, /woof, /bark, let's say. Dot, what was it, split it was doing? So right, you see here we get here this one blank one. So I don't want that. Basically what I do with the filter boolean here is to just filter out any that are falsy, and an empty string is falsy. So if I do that, now we just get the 3 that I care about. I guess it's kind of a little bit of a trick, but to me it's simple enough. So that gets us the path parts that we care about. And then I've got this recursive function here, recurse path, which just gets triggered here and kind of starts the whole thing. And what recurse path does, it starts at the first position, the first path part. Right, so from the path parts, it takes the pieces of it does a slice of the array and then joins them here. So the gist of that is, let's go back to the console here and just take a peek at it. So let's say we had those 3 array elements here. Let's just copy them. And we do slice from position 1 and then join. You see you just get the meow. Wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Ah, okay, I do a join as well. So I basically just put a / at the front of it. So the first path we get, let's just do it here, plus that. There we go. Same concept. So there we get the meow one, and then if we say slice on the second position, we get the meow woof. And then so you see here how we can kind of iterate through the path to get the different steps. The first make path you get is that first path. Then there's also this next part command. We'll get to that in a second. Let's just see. So we got the make path. We got the first one we want to do. Let's say it's / meow. We check if it exists. If it exists, we go right to that. We go to the next part because that directory already exists. We'll get to this in a second. So then we do a make directory. We do the WX flag so that we'll get an error if it exists already, or if just something happens. I guess I think it's for existence, but I guess if we checked for it already, this is pointless. That's a good point. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if there would be any sense in this flag because we already checked if it exists. Let's double check these flags. I want to make sure for myself. Node.js mode flag WX, something like that. Here we go. WX. Where's the description of what it does? Here it is. Like W, but fails if the path exists. Right. Well, we already know that the path doesn't exist if we got to that step, so that's kind of pointless. And I think this is like the default. Open file for writing. The file is created if it does not exist. So can we do make directory in a more simple way? I think we can. Let's try it. So instead, I'm just going to do this piece here. And it's not happy with that. No, you need to put the mode. You need that mode. But I guess I could just do W. The X is... Does it matter? I don't know. I wonder if adding that flag is somehow inefficient. I have no idea. That would be good to know. Because otherwise, W seems fine. I don't know if that's the default. Doesn't really say what the default is. But let's just do W as the flag. Not WX. Okay, so there's no error. Then we update the folder. And we know the update folder command will update any open folder to reflect the change. So if you got it open in 2 places, you'll see the folder appear in 2 places. Here it's saying this folder, and I believe it's saying we're adding a file. Yeah, that's the case, I think. Oh, what is this diff? I'm not happy with this diff. Get out of there. Okay, so that's the function. And then it runs next part either way. So this one we make it, we update visually to show that there's been a new created folder, and then we go over to the next part. And then what next part does is it makes sure it isn't finished the position. If it's finished all the positions and it's created them all, then it triggers the callback. Otherwise, it just recurses over it with the position +1. So that's the basics of that. And then I export it here. And then here I'm just using it instead of what I was using before. So before I had the save path, which actually is just a simple path. I think it's just /saves, but it couldn't have been anything recursive that was new. That would have caused an issue before. Now it doesn't, and now I cache save name because why? Ah, yes, I wasn't passing it to update folder before. I should have been. It should have been passed as the second parameter because it's getting created. So it's a new thing happening on this folder. Other than that, yeah, these 3 changes are basically just caching this and then passing it here like I wasn't before. Otherwise, nothing changed. Just fs.makeDir became makeDir recursive. And now we have recursive. And I think I use this in every case, but let me just double check. Here's another one. Same thing. It's the same situation, actually. It's involving the saving. So both of these are the saving that I did, where I have a save path. And I wanted that path to be recursively created. Let's just double check there's no other ones. Yeah, there aren't any other ones. Great. So there we go. So now for make directory, we're just going to have to use this. In some ways, it's not as ideal as I'd like. Let's test it out here. So let's go to the saved path. Find the darn thing. Here it is. And let's just add to the folder. Let's call it woof/meow /. Now we'll go into the code here. And we'll make it save something. So currently there won't be any saves. We'll move the folder over here. Make this a little smaller too. Now we open up, let's say Doom. Get Doom going. Start a new game. Like so. Let's say we save it as Dustin. There we go. Now we just close this. There's Woof right there, which has got meow inside it, which has saves inside it, which has my game save. And I can even open the zip file and look at that and look at the empty folder there. Oh, something else happened. Interesting. Already mounted. Well, there's some fixes I do this episode. When these kind of things happen, I'm actually happy when these happen because it's like, oh good, now I found a bug that that a user won't see when I fix this. But at the moment, for this stream, I ain't fixing this. So let's just write it down here. /woof/meow/saves. Why can't I don't know where this message is within this stack trace. That's what's annoying here. I can't find where to copy it. What if I just right click and press copy object? Let's go over here. Oh, that was of no use. Thank you. Clear console. No, I don't really want that. Okay. I'm just going to write a vague note for what I think the issue is and then resolve it later. So for next stream, opening deeply nested JS DOS zip save and then opening. No, that's too much explanation. Let's just say problem with mounted zip files currently. But maybe I fixed it. Who knows? Anyways, let's ignore that. For the most part, it worked, right? We got the folder we wanted. So that was the recursive make directory. That worked. But then when I dived into it, we got some kind of zip error that is absolutely not related, in my opinion. In my professional opinion, as a pathologist. Okay. So let's just save that. What was that called? That was called recursive make directory with updates. Yeah. So it worked with the W flag instead of the WX flag, so I made that a little more specific because the X flag doesn't make sense if I'm already doing exists here. Oh, one other little tweak I can see that I can do here is that this doesn't need the question mark here. This doesn't need to be optionally chained because if we're in here, if we got to this callback, then FS exists. I think later in this episode I actually clean up a couple of those mistakes that I made. Maybe cleaning this one up will mean that I can't just apply patch, but whatever. I caught it now. Commit it. Let's not think about it for even one more second. Committed. Let's move on. What's next on the battering ram here? Keep pages hook within file. What does that mean? I think I ended up doing this and then undoing this. Right. Yeah, I remember this was happening, and then I think... What did I do? Did I update it? Let me just check here, because at some point I do a Next.js update. Here, fix next config type. That is not the one. Package updates? Yeah, package upgrades. Oh, that's better. Was it at this point that I fixed that? No, it was not. Huh. Alright, well, I don't really want to do this change right now. I disagree with this change. Let's do the package updates and see if it makes it smarten up. That's the next one we'll do. Let's open up a terminal and run yarn outdated to see what it is exactly that we don't got right now. Next.js, I think, is one of them. TypeScript, right, that'll be a big jump. Styled components, maybe we have the Next.js updates for the most part, actually. So that's fine. Okay, I'm happy with all those updates. Let's do yarn upgrade, upgrade, question mark, dash latest, dash latest. Not just one dash won't get you enough. You need two of them. Delicious blue. Blue's my favorite flavor. Okay, so we got some package updates there, yeah. Alright, that's quite a few. Now, let's double check what that issue was. Pages, this here, I have a hook here within pages. I think that's frowned upon, but at the same time, I thought I resolved this. Let's do an ESLint and just see if it complains still. If it does, I'm still going to ignore it for the moment because I don't agree with it. Let's move on to the next change, which is moved stream notes. Right, I've decided to put the stream notes into the app so that we'll be able to access them from the public folder. That's a simple enough change. I don't have to apply a commit here. I can just do that change. So it passed TypeScript right now, so I'm going to ignore that change that I did and just let this be a hook like this. Maybe move it into utils. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to move it into utils. Update the asset there. See if it's still okay with that. If so, I think that might be a little bit better. Just a little bit. Where was that command? Where did I run that? Oh, here. Yeah, okay, utils. That sounds nice. I think I add another one here in this episode about iframes. Because I noticed, oh, now it's complaining. Right, so it was okay with it when it was in the pages folder. Okay, let's just not do that change that I just did because that was incorrect then. Before it was happier. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. What was it saying there? Unable to resolve path to module. Oh, because this didn't... just because I didn't save this. Darn it, the move was perfectly fine. I just didn't save the file change. Okay, one last try here. Move that, and now save this. There we go. Now when I run ESLint, it shouldn't complain, and we should have 3 file changes. Here they are. So we're going to do those first. Let's say moved, use URL loader into utils. Like so. Put that over here. All right, ESLint's still cooperating, so let's commit that. And then we'll also commit the package updates. Package updates. Not upgrades. What changed anyways? Anything worth looking at? TypeScript did, but it still seems to be doing fine. Maybe the build will have a complaint. We'll do a build, but I'm going to make the message here just in case it's okay. Save those. And then while it's doing this slow build, I'm just going to see, right, the stream notes. Let's jump over to that too. That's easy enough. There's the stream notes here, and here's public. I'm just going to put them in documents. Just one fell swoop, as they say. documents, move. Okay, there we go. Now it's going to say a lot of stuff changed. Yeah. That'll be my next one. Moved stream notes into public documents folder. Public documents is fine. Let's just say public folder. You don't need to know the subfolder. Okay, building still works fine too. So let's just commit these 2 package update changes. Commit those. I'm going to undo these file system changes because I don't... Oh wait, maybe I shouldn't actually. Let's do a yarn build fs and get the newest file changes because this is a large change here. All those notes are now part of it. Part of public. Okay, moved stream notes into public. Nice. So that means if we go to the code now and we refresh it here and we look at the folder, it might want me to do a complete restart. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's mad. Let's just start over again. I don't know why it does that, if it's because I moved too many things or what happened there. Loading. While this is loading, what's next? Don't commit fs indexes. What does that mean? Oh, right. Wait, don't I change my mind on this too? Yeah, I think I do this and then once again change my mind. Actually include them. Yeah, nice. Okay, that was a wasted commit. Here we go. This finally loaded. So if we look here, oh yeah. Let me clear this here. Open it again. Documents, streams, and then here we go. Here's all the markdown documents. So we got a lot of them in there now. Now we need something to view them. Possibly next week I might have something set up. Nothing. I've been working on Monaco Player, which is like the one for Visual Studio Code. So it should look pretty cool. Exact double clicking on desktop. Right. This is a fun one that I did. Wait, I think I changed this. Pointer move. Is that what I stuck with in the end? Here we go. Allow some flex and double click movement. I changed it a bit. Okay. But it's still the same basic idea involving pointer move. Let's apply both these patches then. And just call it a night. I'll call this patch 1. And we'll call this patch 2 when we save it. .txt because Windows loves doing that. I think that was it for double click things. Yeah, it was just those 2. It was this one. First I added it, and then I was messing around with the text editor. Oh, I actually deleted a big commit and had to redo a bunch of stuff there. Is this for the same thing too? No, that was a mistake I made, I think. Another one. Save check. Yeah, there's a lot of like little tweaks I did, honestly. Like I said, this week I was kind of busy. So let's try these 2 patches now. These are going to involve the... Let's just apply these darn patches and not have me struggle to try to figure out what this adds. Yeah, git apply. Get over here. users-dustin/desktop/1. First we'll apply number 1, and then let's try to go right into applying number 2. Okay, that worked. Looks like both of them applied here, so let's just look at the contribution all at once. So basically the idea of what happened here, if you look here, watch, we go here, let's say watch, so I'll click here and then here. Watch, here, 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 here. Okay, now it's not working. Why is that? 1 second here. Okay, let's try it with the title bar. It's easier to test. So if I click here and then here. Okay, why is this so hard to replicate now? Oh, right, because I just applied the changes. Duh. So it's working, but I wanted to show you it not working. Darn it. Let's just undo exactly what I did here. Discard changes. Let's show you the I gotta show you the before. I can't just jump to the after. So watch. So we click. There we go. So you see it open there, but I clicked and then I moved it and clicked again. Obviously, that's not how it works in Windows. So another issue is here. So double clicking the title bar, I can go doot. See, I can click like way off in 2 places. So what I've decided to do with the changes, the 2 changes I did, is to have it monitor the mouse movements. So what it does here is I allow 5 movements basically. And the reason I do that is I found when I made, even if it was even just the little minorest 1 pixel movement, that resetting my double click timer kind of got a little annoying and didn't quite feel like Windows. It felt like Windows maybe has some allowance for just the slightest movement. I could be wrong. Maybe Windows is very exact, but I've decided for mine to be a little bit more generous with the movements. And also to note, the reason I went with pointer move is that doesn't mess up on mobile with touch. Because I found with if I used mouse move, that it was triggering click events on touch, and it just wasn't working properly on touch. It messed it up. It wouldn't open at all. Whereas this pointer move, I'm just focusing on for desktop in this case. For touch, I want you to just be able to do and not worry about being a little bit off. But with in Windows, you want to be as close as possible, I think. So what did I end up doing? If it's single click, just run the handler. This is my double click hook. If there was no timer set, then we set the timer to wait to look for the next click. And then we also add an event listener to the pointer move that says clear when the pointer's moved. And this is a passive event. It's a little more efficient. And so what this function is doing is it checks the move count, which is a ref. I don't know if it needs to be a ref. I think it does, honestly. I mean, the timer needed to be a ref. I remember I ran into some issues there, so I've decided to make the move count a ref as well. But I'm not 100% sure if that's necessary. Perhaps it could have just been a variable within onClick. Let's not risk that. So we got the move count. We iterated here. If you've already moved the mouse more than 5 times before you've done your second click, we're going to clear the timer, and we're also going to remove the listener. Now my concern is I wonder, this won't remove the listener then. I guess it'll remove the listener eventually, won't it? Or will this just live on forever? As long as the move count keeps iterating. So you could do the double click and then move, and then it'll remove the listener when it gets to 5 here. But it's going to try to run clear timer. There won't be a timer anymore. Yeah, I guess this is okay. The issue I have with this is that when the timer does go, if you do the double click, it should clear this, but it doesn't. I think the reasoning behind why I didn't do that is something I don't recall. So let's not worry about it at the moment. Yeah, let's see. What would have to, how would that have to work? I mean, I would have to run this again, honestly. I just have to run this. Can I do this from here? Why not? Well, here it runs clear timer. Could clear timer always do this? But the order of assignment. This is assigned here, but if I move this up, then it uses clear timer. Right. I think I didn't completely solve this, but at the same time, it's not super inefficient because it will make, I mean, as soon as the user moves the mouse even 5 pixels, this handler won't be here anymore. I'm going to leave it for now, but I question its efficiency. Let's put it here as a next stream question mark. Better cleanup of unused pointer move listener. That's a good way to put that. Otherwise, this worked. As you saw in the example, if we jump back now that it's applied again, now you see when I go left and right, it's not doing that. But if I if I move the mouse in one spot, then it does indeed allow me to do the double clicks. So that's what I wanted. What we're going to call that commit is a good question because this is 2 commits combined. I'm going to call it, it was called exact, I called it exact double clicking before, but I'm going to call it near exact double clicking. So if you're going to oh, darn it. Sorry guys, switch back to the code here. So I'm just writing the commit message. Near exact double clicking. That's what I've decided to call this feature in quotes. It's more like Windows, which is all that matters to me. Well, not really, but I like their choices, you know? I like to try to emulate the way they're doing it. It's fun to do it that way. It's fun to have the restraint of having to emulate it, and having to do it in the browser is also another constraint. I say restraint or constraint? I think I want constraint in this case. So we did these. We skipped the text editor for now, but we'll get back to that real soon. Let's see what this one is. This should be able to be undefined, shouldn't it? Right. I think this might have been a mistake from before that I've already made in the previous commit. Let's take a peek. What one is this? This is in WebAmp. Yeah, I think right now WebAmp is completely broken from my last commit. Yeah, I was adding empty buffer everywhere, but in this exact case, which case? What line was that? Line 36. This one. Yes. In this case, when it's passed to load WebAmp, the issue is, go to load WebAmp here. Where the heck is it? Here it is. That the file is... Right, the file is supposed to be optional. So by assigning it empty buffer, it's no longer optional. So when we get here, you see where if file, instead of just doing run WebAmp, it tries to do this. It's not an MP3, so it goes into this of assuming it's skin. That's interesting. Maybe this is as another safety. I should put this here and check that it's a skin. Yeah, let's do that too. Else if is, what is it, WSZ? I don't even remember what the skin file format is. Yeah, WSZ. Okay, let's cache this then. Or do we already cache this? No. But let's. Extension equals that. And then we'll say if the extension's MP3, do this. Else if it's this, do that. Otherwise, this as well. Another, this, yeah, that else would need to be there. Okay. That should actually fix the problem even with the empty buffer. But at the same time, I should just be able to have a null buffer here. So this should have always been like that, so that it would have just jumped here. But when it jumped here, it shouldn't have just tried to load a skin as the else condition. There could be a file that somehow is passed to WebAmp that's not an MP3 or a WSC. Not really. Well, that's just the way it is. I guess here I could have that logic. Just that if the extension is that, otherwise undefined. Yeah, that works. Then I don't need to have that else in there, I guess. I could just have it here. Oops, I just deleted the code I needed there. I just deleted the code that I needed. Is that clearer? Extensions WSC, load the skin, otherwise don't put anything in there. That works. Should I do an empty object, I wonder? What was this format? Options, which is optional. Okay. Well, here it tries... Oh yeah, I could do an empty object. Why not? That looks better than undefined. Well, in that case, it's... Well, it's optional here. What if I just pass an empty object? And then... No, I don't like that idea. I guess this is allowed. I'm surprised that if that were empty, that this ... on undefined... I keep forgetting that that's okay. But I guess you can do that. All right, let's just see what we tweaked here. Right, so we made this a little safer in that if it's an MP3, we do this. Otherwise, if it's a skin, we do that. Otherwise, we have no idea. We just run WebAmp. Same as this. Maybe it was nicer the other way. Yeah, that's a little cleaner in some ways. It's a little repetitive with these two run WebAmps, I guess. But at the same time, if there's a file, we check the extension. I don't know how we would get here and not have the file be one of these two extensions. That's the real issue. But that's okay. And then here, what did I change? Oh yes, here again, we didn't want the empty buffer. So let's just say fixed WebAmp file loading issue. And the fact that it was treating it like a skin. Maybe we should check my code just as a wild idea to make sure I didn't break WebAmp skins. Skins. Wait, what? This folder structure. Oh, something's going on here. Let's go to my folder structure here. I think I have empty folders. Yeah, that shouldn't be there. What's that doing there? Got a few weird folders. Oh, that was actually the only one. Okay. Is this a good time to fix it? Well, let's run yarn build fs again because that's wrong. And now if we reload this and open it, there shouldn't be a skins folder. That's better. And now in documents is where skins should have been. And now when we open one, it does indeed still load properly. So that's good. Okay, so I didn't break it much. Fixed WebAmp file loading issue. It's just these two files here. So we'll stage those two. Pass those off. And then we're also going to say removed unused skins folder. Removed unused / skins folder. I think that that's just from one of my legacy setups and probably shouldn't have even been in the repo in the first place. But then when I did a build fs, I kind of put it in there in the JSON part. Okay, what's next? Next one up here. How many more? We got a good amount. Good amount. Safer check for watcher. What is that one? Yeah, we just did that. This one here, okay, yeah, I think I ended up running into some issues with this. It's not necessarily, yeah, this could be not defined, so we don't want to just jump into that. I can't remember what exactly is the case where we can trigger that, but it's true that if you're past this watched folder is coming from the relevant path, so I'm saying here's the paths I want to check for, but I'm not assuming that they all have watchers already, because there might not be a folder open that needs the watcher. Safer check for watcher. Watchers, actually, it's more, feels like it should be plural to me. I'll make it plural in the show notes. Let's have the show notes be more accurate than the actual commits. What's next? I need some more Red Bull. Fixed iframes losing focus of window. Okay, so this is an iframe fix idea I had. Oh, here's where I moved it into utils. So right, I did move it into utils in the end. And I also made this other one, which I put in utils. Now, the iframe is for the tiny MCE thing I was saying, so I'm also going to leave this one on the back burner, along with the text editor update. So these two are going to be coming up. The thing with the text editor update is that I did this tiny MCE app, and then I do a few improvements to it, and I'm wondering, after I do all the other commits, I might just go to the all files changed and just get the final version of the things I care about. So let's move on to the next day here, the 26th. So that's the iframe hook. Variant would recalc. Yeah, so I had broken maximize as well. This is another one. If you guys remember, I'd switched to the using the dynamic variants from Framer Motion. But the issue with those is that they trigger too often. So I actually prefer the use state, where you can say only in these dependencies do I want to change the state of it. So let's just do that patch as well. I think this patch is literally a revert of the original changes. But I'm okay with that. It's fair. It happens, you know, it happens to the best of us, and I'm not the best of us, so it happens to me more often than some, but not everybody. Okay, this commit here is that one that I'm referring to. Let's just double check it. Yeah, basically, yeah, just switching back to using use states to keep track of those and having use effects and monitoring the right dependencies. So I'll just tell you, yeah, maximize was broken. Variant would recalc too often, yeah. Fixed broken maximize with dynamic variant. Dynamic variants sounds cool. Wasn't that the guy on Loki? Are they the variants or mischiefs or something like that? Okay, what's next? Allow clicking the entire disabled toolbar. What does that mean? Oh, see, there's these tiny MCE changes. So that, yeah, that's one we'll get to later. Don't lose focus when opening menu. That was another one for tiny MCE. Make sure right click item also is focused. Again, these tiny MCE improvements, aren't they? No, this one not. Let me double check the other ones weren't too now. Don't lose focus when opening menu. Yeah, that was tiny MCE. Allow clicking the entire disabled toolbar. Let's just double check. Indeed, that was also tiny MC, but this one's not. Right. So the problem here, I think at one point I had this where I had we need path and focused entries, because if you just dive in and right click an item, it's not added to a focused entry in the right time for this right click menu to see it. But we do know that it's from the path what it was, and the focused entry is just a list of paths. So what I've done here is sometimes it will be on there. So that's why I've made sure to not have duplicates here by doing a new set. So we get the path, the thing that was just clicked, plus the focused entries, the other things that are also selected, possibly including the thing that was clicked, depending on how it was focused, how it was clicked. And we make those into an array. I wonder if new set can be just two arrays. Let me try that, because that might be nicer. New set. Can I have it be like an array with a 1 and then another array with like a 1, 2, and a 3? No. Okay, so it has to be like how I had it there, which was like this. Yeah, okay, that's better then, fine. So I converted to a new set. You see here it gets rid of the duplicates in case there's a duplicate. And then I convert that back into an array so that I can use the unique array now. That's basically all that I was doing here. And yeah, the same command, just one more path. So let's find where I did that. Focused entries dot, what was it, map? I think it was. Yeah, map here. So this was to get the absolute entries, the entries that I use for when I'm knowing what do you want to move, what do you want to copy, what do you want to delete. And as a test of it being broken, I think we can test it easily enough. Let's say I drag something on here like this. Now if I right click that and I press delete, it deleted it. Okay, let me try again. Drag it on here. Now if I right click and press delete, yeah, you see it didn't delete. But then after this fix, like so, now when we go there and I right click and I press delete, there it goes. Let's try that again. Right click and press delete. Oh, that's weird. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Were those not deleting? Now let's try it. Interesting. Well, it partially worked. It did pass the correct name now, but it seems like delete didn't really work, which is intriguing in its own right. Huh. Did I fix that, or is that just another bug that I'm just now observing? Well, I don't mention it. Okay, let's add that to the next stream. Things I broke this stream, possibly. Delete not working for drag in entries, question mark? Well, at least it did get the path for the right click right away, in that it worked. So that's enough for this commit, at least. But I don't know why more stuff's broken now. Make sure right clicked item also is focused. Yeah, that's essentially what I was doing here. There we go. Another one in. Let's move on. Allow clicking the entire, no, don't lose focus. Yeah, make sure right click item. Okay, so this is where we were. Attempt to fix unselectable green right clicks. Oh, is this that I had it wrong? Oh man, I had it wrong. How did I have it wrong here? Ah, I see, yeah. So the path here, I added it as part of the array that gets mapped over, but the path is already a full path. It doesn't need to be joined with dir name. See, yeah, in dir name here, I'm getting the directory name from the path. So that makes no sense that I'm getting it twice, basically. So yeah, it should have been like this, and maybe that explains why delete wasn't quite working. But that's why, yeah, if I'd remembered that I had that broken, I wouldn't have wasted the time with that first commit, but you live and you learn. So let's just say fix fixed incorrect concat of absolute entries path. That doesn't sound too technical or confusing at all, does it? Sarcasm there. Let's just see if delete is a little bit better now. Now let's try this. So now when I right click, I'm over here, right click, delete. Okay, and I press refresh and it's legitimately deleted. Okay, cool. That's what I wanted. So yeah, that's unfortunately, I'm gonna put this as an indented 2 spaces. Come on, 4 spaces. What are we, animals here? 2 spaces. There we go. These are related basically. Fixed, broke it, fixed it, or half fix, half break, full fix. That's how I'm gonna consider it. That was these two. Refactor unique name, right? These are follow-ups from last episode where I said I was gonna refactor this. So before I had 2 unique names. I had unique name, iterate, base, iterate, and I had it again somewhere. Yeah, down here. So I've removed them out of here and put them above the first condition. You know, let's take a look at the diff because it'll probably be easier to see side by side. Side by side. Let's just do the old magic trick of applying a commit. It's like magic to me. Okay, it's use folder I changed, and looks what have I added here? Yeah, before there was this condition here. Now I've named these the conditions. Why have I done that? Oh yeah, because I'm reusing it here to get the base name. Okay. Right. So first it was like there was this condition, and then I was doing these versus this condition and doing these. Now I'm just get the condition the first time, which is called isInternal. That's also helpful to know. Okay, so this is a new path. Is it the internal one where you're going from dragging on my fake desktop to my fake folder, or is this coming from a real Windows desktop into the browser externally? Otherwise, unique name didn't really change here, except now we use base name that's been already pre-calculated based on if it's internal or not. Now renamed path I've changed to be called full new path, just to clarify what it is coming from the unique name. And this is the same condition as before. Yeah, this is just the renaming of the path. Otherwise, nothing else changed. Here's another make directory. I didn't notice this from before. Okay, this is the only one. And actually, in this case, I think it's okay. Because the new path is going to basically exist already. The parent of it. Because you're in the parent, I think. But what if you wanted to copy a folder that's nested? Then you'd have to do multiple make directories, wouldn't you? Maybe this is a great opportunity for the nested make directory then, I guess. Let's try it. Make directory recurse. What was it? Here it is. This is the only other time where I'm doing make directory, so I should probably use it, I would say. There we go, and then we don't need the flags anymore. And we have to import that from FS. We already have FS, so we just have to find it here. LMNOP. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. Seems okay to me, honestly. So now, if you copied a folder from one place to another, this might make that work. Because in the new parent, it would have to make multiple folders of that folder that has folders. Let's just see if I haven't broke drag and drop. Open the file here and drag this in. That works. That works. Okay. I'm going to say that means that new path partially works. Let's try my idea that nested folders would work. New folder. Oh, wow. Why'd it make 2? Is that some other problem, or is that this other thing I just made? Let's try that on the desktop. Same problem? Yeah, it makes 2 of them. Was that because of this change? What change did I do here? Oh, that's that recursive change. I wonder if it is related. Let me put this back and see if it stops doing that. Okay, let's try this again. Refresh. Clear all the stuff. Let's reset. So if I make a new folder, 1 new folder. Okay. So this is not a place to put that recursive change. Not yet. I feel like for copying a folder, it could be. But We'll think about that when we get there. Don't I have it on my list? I think I have it on my list to be able to copy folders. Let's make a note of that too. Ability to copy / delete folders. Recursively. There we go. Yeah, deleting folders recursively, I'm actually not sure if that is fully functional either. So what did we end up changing here? Oh, that's another change I don't want. What were the parts of this change I wanted? Right here, the unique part is the unique, right? And not anything else. Don't mess with nothing else. That commit was perfect the way it was. Refactor unique name variables. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. Variables. There we go. Now it's more legit. Okay, refactor unique name variables. I'm gonna commit that. And we're gonna move on to the next one. Simplify naming of sidebar button array. How did I simplify it? So instead of being called sidebar button type, right, I've made another one called sidebar buttons that's an array of sidebar button. And then now this, yeah, that was like this before. Right, and now instead of going sidebar button type array, now I just say sidebar buttons, which is an array of sidebar button. The reason I do this is because the component itself is also called sidebar button. And I didn't want... TypeScript is actually okay with it, but to me it looks confusing. It's like two variables with the exact same name, it looks like. So that was why I decided to try to make that a little clearer. And I'm hoping I accomplished that. But if you think I did not, feel free to comment. Okay, let's apply that change and just double check it. Because double checking is fun. I actually do enjoy double checking, to be honest. Makes me feel like it's I can be more confident in it. So instead of sidebar button type, now it's sidebar buttons. And instead of a sidebar button type array, it's just sidebar buttons. Okay, nothing fancy there. This got changed, doesn't need to be exported, but we are exporting the buttons, which is that array. And we just rename that. Simple. Simplify naming of sidebar button array. Oh, did I not commit that message? I think I forgot to put the unique thing, or where did I put that? Well, I put it down here. Darn it. I'm getting confused with the next stream stuff. That's bad. Did I put any other ones in there? Ability to copy? No. Delete not working. Oh, wait, I fixed that. Delete not working, right? Yeah, I fixed that. Okay. We got that one. Maintaining the notes can be sometimes tricky. It feels like I'm juggling a lot of balls while I'm doing the stream sometimes, but it's fun. I have fun with it anyways. Allow refocusing after iframe. Oh, this is part of that iframe focuser. Okay, that's good to know that I actually changed it. So that's another thing we'll probably end up using the other version of. Let's move past that one as well. What is this one? Don't download folders or shortcuts. Okay, yeah, that's fair. So here now in the get file command, I'm having to check if it's a shortcut or not. I don't want to put shortcuts. I just don't want to download shortcuts. Not necessary. Totally unnecessary, dude. Let's apply the patch together as a team. Team discovery channel. Okay, I'm gonna get that commit message all ready for me, just to be... Oh no, I'm not. I'm gonna click random stuff on the browser here. You guys can watch my fail clicks here. There we go, I'm back. This, I don't know if that should be clickable or not. Too many clickable things on that page. Let's take a peek at what I've done here. I've made a new type called file. Ignore the fact that it says buffer's wrong. That's just me needing to restart VS Code here. So here's the major change. At the get file command, before I was just going straight to reading it. Now I check, is the extension a shortcut? Then don't worry about that file. Just go straight to the next one. And return void. Otherwise, we do a stat command and we check, is it a directory? Okay, then also don't do it. So shortcuts no, directories no, because currently we don't have the support for that. This will be added eventually. I almost should make a note here, but maybe I should. What is this for again? This is for downloading. Ability to copy, delete, /download folders recursively. So I need a little bit more there. Currently that's not supported. Otherwise, it's the same code. And here at the, when I get the zip contents, I filter by that falsy statements again, because here we're going to have some voids in there. So we filter them, so we just say it's just a file array again, and not files plus voids. This could be done, I guess, at the no. This has to be done after the promise all has occurred. Yeah, I think. I guess you could do get file. No, that has to be that way. That's fine. I could have, yeah. I'm happy with that change. I'm thinking now it could have been done a few different ways, as always. But I'm gonna just commit that because that worked as expected. I mean, did it? I didn't test it. Let's try it out. Refresh this. So I'm gonna highlight. This is all shortcuts and folders. Let's make a file here. So the problem is when I right click the folder here, I can press download. But if I right click a shortcut, there is no download. If I right click a folder, there's no download. But the thing is, before I could do this and then right click the file and click download, and it was adding the other stuff in, which is kind of neat. So now let's drag it on here and see what's inside it. Cool. So now we just got the text document instead of the shortcut and whatever. I think the folder thing, what it does is it just makes an empty file because it doesn't even know how to process folders properly yet. Anyways, you saw it in action there, the fix. Let's just clear all that garbage we had. Move on. Upgraded JS DOS. I feel like I upgraded this and then unupgraded it. Yeah. This is moving to, because they fixed this little piece here, but then for some reason, second runs, my keyboard wouldn't work. So at some point, yeah, here I revert the JS DOS change and redo. Yeah. This part I changed, right? I remember this. This we can change. So the issue, there's a bunch of these little ones we can go through. Let's go, well, let's do that one. No, let's do them all together. Because I added some ESLint rules in an attempt to find some stuff, and I found some stuff, but not enough to keep the ESLint rules yet. So I've just kind of got some commits where I changed some stuff. Yeah, here, some of no unnecessary condition. We did package update. The yarn lock file, we could update that for fun. Let's do that one quick. So all I did for updating the yarn lock file basically was just delete the darn thing. Just, I think there's a command to update the yarn file, but I'm also completely fine to just nuke it. I stick with the latest everything. I'll just say delete the lock file, and then basically just run yarn again. And it's going to remake the lock file, and then that's the lock file I'll use. And typically there will be a little bit of changes in there. So here's more of those Tinymc tweaks. We're just going to get all that from the main file changes. This one will do. That's the next legit one here. Is this no unnecessary condition. And the basics of this, it's a TypeScript ESLint rule that's supposed to make it so you don't use, like that's an unnecessary condition or this optional chaining. But to me, it's finding a lot of false positives. So I had applied it and tried to find some useful ones, but I didn't find all of them. We'll go through these here, I think, one by one, because I don't know how many there are. 16? I think they're really quick anyways. Let's just see if there's any. Yeah, here's some more ones I did too. Right. Actually, we don't have a huge amount left before we get into the text editor. So yeah, let's try to get through some of these. So here's one of the first ones. Let's take a peek at that. And the issue with that one is we're assuming. Actually, it's completely fine the way it is. The only problem. Actually, no, it isn't completely fine. I'm doing optional chaining, which is correct. I think I did that because I ran into some errors and realized that this might not exist. And even if this exists, this might not exist. Now, if this exists, destroy will exist, basically. Never had it not happen. So that we don't need to be optional. But the reason that the ESLint rule told me that none of these needed to exist was because the original type here that I've done as a declare global, I had put it as always there, but that's not true. It is optional. So I should be careful doing that. This can load, and then this might not load. But then if these two load, this would not be optional, I'm saying. So that's updating that one type. Let's see what the next one is. And these I just like to try to be as accurate as possible with the types. I'm constantly trying to tweak them. So those are tweaked now. Next one here is the ruffle player. It's kind of the same idea, I think, where it was a little bit wrong. Yeah, so here here it's fair to use it like this, actually. But yeah, what did I do? What was my solution in the code? Did I add a condition around it? Let's see. Where's the ruffle stuff? I never did. Yeah, okay. Well, in that case, I guess this doesn't need to be conditional. It's true anyways. If we're already in load files and we've already assumed that this exists, then I think it's okay to assume that this exists here. And then if that happens, newest will be there as well. So I think we're okay in this case to remove these. But at the same time, this is another one of those ones that's optional, because this will only exist once load files has occurred. Now, the position it's in here means it's okay, but it couldn't hurt to have it look for these. The thing is, I can't do optional chaining here because I'm doing assignment. So if I do it, I'm just going to get more errors. Yeah. So the way around that would be to check this after it's loaded here to see, did it load? Is there something there? And then I mean, perhaps that does make sense. Perhaps that is the safest approach. Because then, yeah, there's no chance of assigning to something that's not assigned. So let's do that, honestly. That is cleaner. I mean, it's a little more code, but that is more safe. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with these TypeScript things. So that's what I like about adding these ESLint rules, where nothing, when I add a rule and I do a scan and nothing is detected. Because sometimes these rules can be big, but if I wrote the code in such a clean way, it's like, it's already kind of so tight, you know? So here's the Tinymc one. Again, we'll get to that in a bit. So here's another good one with v86 that was, again, correct. So here, I'm checking for FS, so I don't need to do optional chaining there. Same with here. We're inside the callback. So if we're inside the callback, we already know FS exists. Same thing here. We got FS. Oh, no, here I'm not doing that. Same here with emulator, though, too. We're here. If this write file is triggered, that means emulator definitely existed. So that one also we can get rid of. Now, if emulator exists, does that mean that destroy exists? I think so, arguably. So we could probably get rid of that as well. I don't want to overdo these conditionals is the reason why I want to get rid of them. But at the same time, you could argue, hey, what does it hurt to have them? I don't know if there's any performance benefit in that. So here, I did do those there. That is the removals I did. So let's stick with those. Here's some other good ones too. That's another correct area where is that? Where is this supposed to be? This is in the v86 screen resizer. Here it is here. Ah, right. Okay, I haven't removed this yet. So for this one here too, if the emulator exists, which might not exist because we're not checking here, but if it does exist, then add listener will exist. And that's how it's been defined in the types already. I believe the v86 starter, I think I had to define this myself. Yeah, and none of these are optional. If this is here, then those will be there, essentially. This here, though, again, should be optional as well, probably. Now, am I already checking for that? I don't know. That would be in this one here. Yeah, here it is here. So, again, again, I should be checking this, honestly. So where was load files? That was way up here. I hate just wrapping it in more conditions unnecessarily, but at the same time, I guess I could just do this. But yeah, that just causes more issues if that were unassigned. Well, when is this necessary? Just here at the end. Yeah, I guess we can get this far. Okay, so I'll just put the condition right here, near to the end where it would matter. But if you got this far and then this didn't work, that would be weird. Not that weird, honestly. You waste a little time with all this stuff just for this to fail here, but ideally it wouldn't fail. Okay, so that's more safety, more type safety here. Did we do this one? Yeah, we did. Remove those. What's next? Web amp. Okay. That's a fair one here, right? And these are another case where I like to not have these. I guess it looks like I have two of them. Yeah. So here in a use effect, I'm checking for FS, but then I'm basically optional again. Rather than remove the optional, I'm just going to remove the condition and just say, try to run FS. If you can't, you can't. Here, it's not the same story. Yeah. Yeah, here if there's no FS, I want to check for it this way. Okay, so that was the only real case for that one. No condition. Oh, there was more here at the bottom? Let's see. For the WebAmp CI, is that true? What part of the... What page was that? That was the WebAmp index, which is here. Here's the optional ones here. Right, okay, yeah, so I'm already checking for it here, so I don't need optional here or here. What else? Is there any other things I'm doing like that? FS. I'm not checking for it here. That's okay, though. If it's the only thing that runs, it's fine. If it's like blah, 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 and then something else runs here under the assumption that FS was triggered, then I want to check for FS within this condition. At the same time, though, this isn't necessarily I'm doing, oh, in this case, I always do with this. In this case, I always do this. It's more like when I remember, I try to do it this way. When I remember. And then I'm trying to add more linting rules so that it's so strict that I just always write it the same because the rules kind of make me do it that way. We're an hour in already. So what do we got here? For file entries. Oh, yes, this is something I'd like to do. So file manager view names. What have I done here? This is my attempt to get rid of strings when we know a key. Like, it's only ever going to be these object keys. Okay, then we don't say string for the record. Say a specific thing. We'll get back to this one, though, because this one is a two-parter. There's another file involved. Let's just do the ones that are single here. Here's another one here, possibly. I wish I could track all these down. So stats might not exist if stat error occurred. FS here could be optional, but then this one would not be because it's inside the callback of the first FS. So that was a minor one. Really would be interesting to know if this has any performance difference at all. Not that it's like, even if it didn't, I think I'd still do it just for the sake of correctness. Here's another one. And here's a final one. Yeah, those were the 3 nested FSs where you don't really need to do nested checking for something. If it existed and you got a callback from it, then it's not going to unexist. And if it does, you got bigger problems, kind of. You're better to assume that it's not going to just disappear magically. Here's another one here. Looks like I check for this. Yeah, a couple cases where I check for something and then assume optional. Yeah, here I'm saying optional, but I wouldn't have even got this far if this had failed. And then if this works, then and this is existing, then you're always going to get an object. So we don't need to do that either. Again, when I say always, you might not always get it, but that would be the exception. Here is something where I had FS just weird. I'm going to fix this at the same time and just call it part of fixing things. So this is something I only do once, where I exported FS as one big FS object, and then I did fs.resetFS. I don't know why I was doing that. We're just going to get rid of that. And we're going to have the resetFS. We pretty much know that's going to exist. So I'm not even going to do conditional on that. Because if you've got the bottom buttons, you've already loaded the start menu. Yeah. I don't think there's any reason to worry about this existing, like doing that. Yeah, I don't think so. Because it's always going to exist as a function. It might not do anything useful, but it should be a function right from the start. Oh, there was oh yeah, I got removed that. Next up, okay, this little ditty here, that's a simple one. Let's take a peek at that and see if that's correct. Oh yeah, here. So current window might not exist, but if it does and you get props, if current window exists, what's current window? It's the R&D, right, it's the R&D ref. So the R&D ref has props always if it exists. So we don't need this piece here. You don't need to conditionally check for props. What's next? There's another one here. This is in the use file system context. I think I might have already got this one when we were just doing it because I'm already so attuned to these now. Yeah, I already got this one. Sorry, I wasn't at the code. Yeah, I already got this one here. I'm looking out for these all the time now. Here is another one. Yeah, in a few cases, event pretty much always going to be there. There's some cases where it's not, but this is one of them, I think, actually, isn't it? Halt event. Yeah, I'm already assuming there's an event handling happening here, so this doesn't need to be like that, as far as I can think. This maybe, yeah. Event target might not exist if data transfer happens to not exist and current target. Okay. But let me slip back to the example here. Where is this? I didn't find this. I was hoping to. Maybe it was the other search result. Oh yeah, it is. Here we go. So yeah, for a button, we're always going to have a keydown event. I'm never triggering it manually some other way. And same here too for the handle file inputs. I think in both cases, yeah, the drop has an event and the change has an event. That's the only time those triggers when there are events associated. So those two, oop, I did some jumping around there. Hopefully my OBS doesn't get too mad at me for that. And last, probably least too. Let's see what this is. Okay, what is this one? For the icon. They're always going to be props? Yeah, I think props will always exist. Source might not always exist. But yeah, props would always exist. And this could be undefined is okay. I think. Is that okay? Well, it says it needs a string, but I think it'll be okay without it. Yeah, source could be not there, but props.source would be there. Okay, so that is all except for the file manager view names. Did I already have that? That already exists as a thing? Oh, okay, it already exists as a thing. I'm just not using it in some places. Here's these things I'm going to replace too. These record strings. I have a couple of them. So here's one of them. This is an example, yeah. Here we know it's icon and list, and we know icon and list comes from this. We actually use it right here, but we weren't using it here. That was silly. Next one was at the file entry index. File entry / index. And where is that darn string? Here we go. Yeah, for the entry file props, we can expect the view to be a file manager view. And we just have to press save to import it automatically. Automagically. Did it? Yes, it did. It did correctly. Let me double check that the other one did. Oh yeah, the other one was already there. It came from there. And then here I've imported it now. Okay, cool. So that doesn't change anything else. The view still can be a list. It can be just those two entries, but that's all that matters. Oh, sorry, guys. Again, I wasn't right at the code. I hate when I do that. I'm jumping around too much. But yeah, here we go. So icon and list versus it being a string before. That does us for these ones. But I want to do a few more of these. Let's move on here and say some no unnecessary conditions. We'll keep that message, but there is a couple more here. Specifically these two. Although these aren't unnecessary conditions. Let's just say refactor conditionals. Let's say refactor optional chaining and record types. Got an Autobot message from Autobot here saying, hi, Dustin. Hey, Autobot. Thanks for checking me out. Thanks for tuning in. Just working on my types here. And so, yeah, let's do these two types as well. I think I can just straight up apply this patch, but now I'm questioning doing this one, honestly. Refactor optional chaining. Where's that one record type I did? Let's just say refactor optional chaining, and let's just commit those first. This is one of them. That's one of them. Yeah, most of these are yeah, the conditionals. Optional chaining / conditionals, we'll say. Mark these three. Cleaning up conditionals and optional chaining. Yeah, that's more optional chaining. Conditionals, nice. I want to find that record one, and I want to put that in a different commit because I think it just makes more sense in a different commit. This was it here. Yeah, that was a piece of it there. And not this. That's another conditional optional chaining. I mean, sorry. Same thing here, more optional chaining. Here's that other one of the record types. That's the optional chained. That one is something else altogether. But at the same time, it was in regards to optional chaining, actually. So yeah, these ones are all about optional chaining. These 5 or whatever. So this one and this one are in regards to turning record string into something else. So let's commit these first. Refactor optional chaining conditionals. And close these million windows I got open. Put that one back in there. Now the next one I wanted to do was refactor record string keys. I want those to use explicit ones when possible. So in this case, like I said, we're using file manager view for the views for record string, and we're just going to search for some more here by doing that search. The next one here is the file paste operation. So this one can't change. This is because string here is a path. I could make it a little bit typed, but a path is a string. I'm okay with that being a pretty dynamic string. This one here with processes, I'm still kind of fighting with this one, I think. I don't think I've solved this one yet. But I have for extensions and themes. So here's for, for Windows States 2 is also path. So same thing there, we're okay with that. Or no, actually that's a process. It's process underscore path. So for processes and Windows State, I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I'm going to make a note of that actually too. Stop using record string key for process IDs. Because there's a few places, but it's a little tricky to quite get it right where you use the same object and you're almost like doing self-referential types. I've had a little bit of trickiness getting that right. So here's the theme one. Let's apply the theme one quick. Well, it doesn't need to be quick, but I'm going to try to do it quick. Just for no other reason than the fact that I like to do every single thing fast. But I often fail at that. Okay, so let's see what that patch named is 8.7. We'll apply that. So that just changed. What did that change? That changed more than I expected. Okay, the theme one had a few changes to it. So here was the first piece, right, that we discussed involving the file manager view. Let's stage that, and then let's see what this theme one was about. The main theme part, what I did here, before I had themes, the object, and I had a key called themes that was just a record of a string and default. Now I moved the object to the top, and I created a type called theme name that is a key of the theme. So in this case, just default theme. So if you hover over it, it's just default theme string. And then when I export default themes, I do as, and now I can say a record in which I know the theme name is already the key of. So then here, now I can use it a little bit better. So now I say it's a theme name that is the state, and I use the default theme passed in there. And for the types, pretty much the same thing. Instead of just saying string, now it's a theme name, and it's dispatched as a theme name. That was the only difference there. So that's the theme record. And then finally, the only other one was, we just did all those. We just did the theme record here. So it's this one here. Let's take a look at this one. Another patch. Just going to resize the window ever so slightly. There we go. Apply this patch, so it'll show up here in changes. There they are. So it's just 3 files. Right. So in this case with extensions, it was similar. There was record string, and it could have been anything. Instead, I've switched this to just be a type for extension, for just the extension piece of the object. And I've gotten rid of a type on extensions, the object itself. And I've done the same pattern here where I've got an extension type that's a key of type of the extension. So now when you see here, we got quite a few. And those are pretty handy. And then I was able to do the same thing. And I had to change this a tiny bit. I changed it to be a little more type safe, kind of, or checking, safe checking. I got a wave here from Kevin. Hey, Kevin, nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in, checking me out. So yeah, for a little bit of safety here, and a chance to use in, because I don't use the in phrase enough, I say if the extension is in extensions, then you do extensions where the extension was an extension type, otherwise an empty object. And basically the same thing here. If the extension's in extensions, you do that and get the process, otherwise it's an empty process list. And before I was just kind of doing the optional chaining here, and here I was just falling back to the optional. Now I've just turned these into actual ternary conditions where I am checking to see is the extension in extensions, and if it is in extensions, then it's an extension type. And in that case, we know things about it, like its icon and its process. Otherwise, it's empty. And the final file change was more the same. Yeah, URL extension is in extensions, then you use it, otherwise blank. And I'm reusing, and oh right, now there was already a variable called extension, so I decided to make one called URL extension to use it here twice, and I renamed the extension to be path extension because they're possibly two different paths. And checks if it's a shortcut. Yeah, that was just variable name changes. Otherwise, nothing had to change here. And that's it. So that was refactor record string keys. So the one we didn't do yet is the process ID. And that one is quite involved because a lot of stuff uses process ID, and there's also, it takes process ID plus a process delimiter plus the path. So I'm thinking of having a type that's like a template literal type to kind of represent that. And I'm just playing with that. I haven't gotten to figure that out fully. Let's commit these changes. We just did a bunch of refactors. And I think all that's left is the big app here. So we did those. Oh, we didn't do this one yet. That's a minor one. So Monaco, we're not going to do today because I'm not ready to do it yet. But I put it in this branch because I'm actually I'm gonna make a bookmark of this right now, and I'm gonna need this later to kind of build off of for episode 26 where I finish that. Here was a minor change here. I noticed that they updated their docs to kind of use this instead. But at one point, the first one that I had was correct. I didn't make that up. That was from their docs, and now they've changed their docs to be slightly nicer looking one, and now I don't need to specify these. Before it complained if I didn't specify those. So that's adjusted or fixed. I'd say fixed next config type because it was completely not working. That was an annoying one where that didn't work, but there's no CLI command to tell me about those little TypeScript errors that like are inconsequential. I'd still like to know about them and to just resolve them like I just did now. But it makes no real difference to the code as it was. It could have if the type had been correct and I had written something wrong, then it would have showed up. Okay, I think it's time to get to Tinymc. That's the big one. And oh man, we're gonna have Monaco mixed in here a little bit, which is a tiny bit annoying, but not really. It's not gonna make a big difference. So let's just start looking for some Tinymc stuff and start copying it. This will be the big one. So Monaco, we're gonna ignore today. Everything else we've done. So let's start with the folder structure. Let's start with making a skeleton app. We'll kind of make it together a little bit. So to make a skeleton app, typically with this, what I've been doing is you go into components, apps, and you make the folder. Actually, I typically copy File Explorer and then kind of hollow it out. But for this case, we already have the app because I've already been making it. So we'll just kind of build it here. So the basics of it, typically the folder will have an index file. It's going to have a styled, I'm going to call it Tinymc editor. Oh man, that looks weird. I'll say, yeah, Tinymc editor.ts. That'll be the styled wrapper. And we might have a few other files, but that's the basics to get that part started. And let's go on to the next piece, which would be in contexts under the processes. That's where the directory is stored. Then I would typically add the entry, so alphabetically LMNOP So we'll call it Tinymc. And I've been using GitHub's Code actually to autofill a lot of this stuff in. But I'm just gonna look and see what it is. This is all these are the Tinymc functions. We're gonna have to look at these. And then we'll just minimize stuff that's not related to that because we've already done all of these other changes. I'm trying to think, I wonder if any of the Tinymc changes actually affected other files, because I'm not even looking at those. Let's see what the original Tinymc is. That was the text editor part 1. I think it was pretty much isolated to those folders. Yeah, exactly it was. And some pictures and stuff. Yeah, pictures. These are the icons. That's the library file, right? We're gonna need the library files too. Oh, that's actually a lot of files. I have an easier way to do that. Anyways, let's keep looking through these. I just wanted to make sure I didn't end up closing a folder that I needed here, because that's kind of my style. Yeah, these are like, oh, this here actually, the extensions. Yeah, I did close the file I needed. Here we go. So here's one of them, WHTML. As I was telling you guys before, we're gonna have WHTML. So if we go to the extensions, this is where I assign file extensions to certain apps, and we'll just put WHTML in there. We'll say it uses the Tinymc icon, and it uses the Tinymc here. And default file viewer. All right, I haven't done that yet. That's to be decided. That was that Monaco thing. So yeah, it's just going to be run by the Tinymc app, which we haven't filled in yet. So close extensions now. We only have that one extension for now. And then let's find where we added it into the directory. We got our sidebar buttons. We got our window changes. Kind of minor, a lot of the changes I did. A lot of bug fixes this episode. But like I say, I was kind of a bit busy. Here we go. So here's some more changes. So I've actually got a default size. I probably don't need that, but I think I decided on that just because it looked better. So the background is just white. It's typical loaded component, just a dynamically loaded component. I've gone 400 by 400 on the size. It's a little bit bigger than your average window. Typical same icon, and then the title is just Tinymc. That's similar to how a lot of these other entries are for the other apps, just kind of to give it a little bit of base information to use when it starts up. And Monaco, we're not doing this episode, as I've said 46 times. Okay, the iframe focuser, we're going to need that. The use session, nope. We fixed all these other things. Here we go. So we'll need this. Let's install Tinymc React. That's going to be the first little piece of this puzzle. Yarn add Tinymc React, and we can just take a quick peek at it to see this one that I've decided to use. It's the official one, the official Tinymc React component. This package is a thin wrapper around Tinymc to make it easier to use in React, and indeed it does. And there's all this documentation on how to use it. So I pretty much copied this example just like they had on their site. I used this script so that I could point to my libs folder. Then I looked through the plugins and just the way to set it up so that I could get it looking the way that I wanted it, and adjusted the few little bugs and stuff that it had along the way to try to get it to work within my system the way that I wanted it to. And here's one of the blog entries that I converted. I'm gonna download this. I'm gonna download all the files actually. I'm gonna have to clone this branch, I think. That's gonna be the easiest way to do it. We'll do it together right now. So I'm going to go code. I'm going to copy my URL. I'm going to go into another directory. Yeah, let me open another console here on my desktop. .dust/dustin/desktop. And then we're going to go git clone of the directory again. And I'm going to cd into that. cd is change directory. I'm going to change directory into X. And now I'm going to git checkout the redo episode 35 branch. And basically the only reason I'm doing that is because it makes it easier to copy all these files instead of pressing download to each one on Git. So now that I have the folder open in another part that you can't see, because I'm secret that way, I'm going to start copying some of the basic stuff that I have there. One of them being the icon. So the icon for Tinymc, we'll copy those. I got a 16 by 16 one and I got a 48 by 48 one. So if you see here in file changes, there they are now. There's the 16, there's the 48. Basically, I just got those from the favicons on their site. I figure that's the icon they want to represent themselves. So, and then for the libs, I just got that via that same TinyMCE page here, I believe there's a download the self-hosted version right here. And then you say TinyMCE downloads, and you say self-hosted release, and then you get the community version. And they're at 591. Is that the version I had? I don't even know. I think it was. We can double check that. Let's go back to the code here for a second. And I'm just going to copy over this entire lib. So I've emptied out the lib, the folder, to just be only the plugins I want, only the theme I want, only the skin I want. So it's minimal, but it's still a lot of files, honestly. Let me just copy those here, and then you're going to see a big file change here. So here, yeah, so everything you're seeing here, all these little plugins for code, full screen, help, image, link, lists, media, paste, preview, print, search, replace, table, and word count. Those plugins, plus the icons, plus the main lib file, plus the CSS that's required for the default skin that I'm using, which is called Oxide, and plus a font it comes with, and also another part of the theme, the silver theme, the silver oxide, I guess. So those are the parts that were just the library files. Those are the same things you get from that zip. I didn't edit those or anything wonky there. And then in documents, I've made a folder. Where did that go? Called blog. And I'm going to paste that in here. And that's going to be, where is it here? That's this one here. Oh, what happened here? Oh, right. So the blog folder also has the images for the blog post. So as you can see here, I've updated the URLs to say documents, blog, images, the same folder structure it had on my blog, but instead of pointing to dustinbrett.com, I'm now locally hosting the images. So that's these 4 images right here that are from that blog post. And that's going to show up in the file directory structure. So let's do a yarn build fs if we have all the files now. I think we have all the files. Let's double check that before we do the build fs. We'll go back to that commit. So here was that document there. There were the 4 images. All these streams were just from that other commit we did where we moved the streams. Here's the 2 icons for TinyMCE. Here's that icon there, all the different plugins. I'll just assume those are correct. The skin stuff, yeah, that's what I'm expecting to see here. Here we go. So this is the piece that's missing. I didn't have the shortcut. We'll just copy the code directly for the shortcut and we'll make one. So I'm going to make it in the start menu. That's in the public folder under start, and I'll make it called tinymce.url. And the URL file is an INI file with this format where it's got internet shortcut, and then the base URL is the app and the icon file, which is referenced there. Okay, what else? I'm just looking if there's any other changes here that we haven't already applied that don't involve Monaco. I don't think there is. Ah, the iframe focuser. Right. So that's almost all that's left here is that iframe focuser. Yeah, here it is here. I think that might be it. So let's copy this iframe focuser and then I'll explain to you the purpose of it because that's a more complicated one. Oh, I also haven't even copied the main part of the app yet. So what am I talking about here? But one thing at a time. So in utils, use iframe focuser.ts, and we're just going to copy that. I actually used a capital F there. Let's do that. I like that. Iframe focuser. Okay. And where am I going to import that? The same place that I'm doing the use URL loader, which is right in the index page. So we'll do the URL loader. We'll do the iframe thing first. Not that it matters. Nice. That imported without any problems, it looks like. Casing does not match. Oh, because you're being wrong. There we go. Okay. Now, I want to explain the iframe focuser, but at the same time, I also wanted to add this index. I didn't put the content into either of these files. These 2 files here. Let's go get the content for those 2 files, because it's kind of important. Here's one of them. This is the main index file. I got some explaining to do here, because there's several files, but once we get down to it, it's actually not so crazy, to be honest. I also have 2 other files called functions and config. So we have some functions.ts that I use whenever I have dependent functions that I don't want to like gunk up the main files kind of. I don't want them to kind of get in the way. I'll put those in like a generic functions file sometimes. And typically I do the same for config. I'll have a config.ts for the app itself. In this case, it has some strings and some things it needed. And finally, this styled piece, I think, which is the wrapper, which goes right here. And I've given it a different name here this time of styled Tinymc. So I have to fix that here in the index because that's got a different name. Before I called it just styled editor, but then it kind of got confusing with the Monaco editor. So I've decided it's better to just give it this proper name. There we go. Now let's close this mess here of files. I'm going to make the node already and called... Oh, now we're at the Tinymc part. So yeah, this is just called the Tinymc app. I'll just say that. Plus blog posts. Plus blog post, not posts. Just one. There we go. Got another message here from Nikhil Tanwar. Appreciate it, bro. Keep going no matter what. You will have your desired views and subs. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, that's cool to hear. And yeah, I'm just going to keep going with this. You know, I've got this dream of this app, this thing that just does a million different things. And I think it's possible, you know. It sounds crazy, but if you just keep doing it and doing it, it's coming together piece by piece. So it's time to look at all that we've changed here. We imported the Tinymc, it updated the lock file. Oh yeah, the lock file. I forgot we were doing a commit where we redid the lock file. Maybe it slipped in or maybe it never changed. I'm not sure. Either way, let's not worry about that commit. So as far as Tinymc specific configs, there's some strings that they let you pass. One is the toolbar that shows you what buttons will be shown. And another is plugins. So these are the plugins I picked. The ability to view the code of the editor, the ability to go into full screen, a help box, to put images in, to put links in, to make lists, add media, to paste formatted documents, to preview, to print, to search, to show tables, and to do word count. Those are pretty basic for Tinymc, and they really do replicate very well the WordPress experience. So I think it kind of makes it seem like to a user that they're almost on my WordPress page, you know? And then as far as config, I've turned off the Tinymc branding. I allow dragging the modals. I'm using the advanced image thing so that I can set margins and stuff. And then here I pass in the plugins and toolbars. And I also specify the library as libs tinymc, the main file. So that's all being self-hosted, as they call it. As far as functions go, I have, if you open an existing file, by default, I have it set in read-only mode. And the way that I do read-only mode is first off, I get the toolbars because I want to put the toolbars in a disabled state and I want it to be when you click them, you can undisable it. So when I say set read-only mode, I get the toolbars, and if the toolbars exist, I do some stuff to it. Otherwise, I ignore that whole toolbar thing and I just set the read-only mode here at the bottom. But if I can find the toolbars and they're divs, then I set the title on the main toolbar container to be click toolbar item to switch to design mode, because that's what the other mode's called, is design and read-only. So that means that the entire toolbar gets disabled, and when you hover over it, you'll see this tooltip. Now, this doesn't completely work, by the way. I've noticed that's something I have on my board as a little issue to fix one day, is that if a child element has a title, a tooltip title, and a parent does, for some reason it seems to pick the child when you hover over it. But I think that's based on how the container and the z-index and stuff like that works, possibly. So I need to mess with that a little bit. I've got a note for it, though, because it's not ideal. Then on the toolbar, the main toolbar, I set a click event that says when you click it, we remove that title. So we no longer say click to go to design mode, and then we switch to design mode. Simple enough. And it's a one-time passive event. So as soon as you click it, it's never going to come back or trigger again. That's the basic of how I wanted to do read-only mode, which is the default if you open it with a file. As far as the styling goes, it didn't add my space there. It didn't add my spacing. I hope it did on the other pages. I think the other pages had fine spacing. Yeah, they did, but oddly enough, this one didn't. Okay, so for the main wrapper div, I think at some point I might find a way to make this pattern generic, because I'm always doing this 100% minus the taskbar height. But I feel like the apps shouldn't even need to know about the taskbar. So that's a little annoyance that I probably need to fix globally, but I'm just following it for now, the same pattern. I need to say that the container doesn't include the height of the taskbar. But that's like part of the window, so I shouldn't need that. That's like a fail. Let's make another note. Apps shouldn't need to account for taskbar height. Another worthwhile one to fix someday. Close config here. So that's the height. And then what I noticed here is that Tinymc would create this container that had a role of application. And the way that for me to get the height to work properly without all, like there was a plugin called auto height or auto adjust. It sucked. It didn't work. But all I really had to do was just this. Basically say the application part of Tinymc, just important, override whatever height you want to set and just do 100%. And that worked fine within this container. So that's good. And now here what I did is when you're in read-only mode, the buttons become disabled. But the issue with that is when they're disabled, you actually can't click there at all. So it made it impossible for me to have that parent click handler that would set you into design mode. So what I do is I say when the buttons are disabled, don't even have any pointer events for them. And by not having any pointer events, it gets ignored in the click order, and it allows me to click the parent object. And this is similar, I think. What is this? Oh, in some cases, it's aria disabled true. What is this? Oh, this is me trying to set the header. Oh, right. So when the role has an aria disabled of true, that means that it's in read-only mode. So what I wanted is that the entire header would have a cursor of not allowed. Because currently in read-only mode, some of the buttons have that same cursor. But I want the entire toolbar to have that cursor when it's disabled. And I don't want you to be able to click the disabled buttons. I only want you to be able to click that read-only mode thing. Okay. That explains that piece. We've already explained the extension. We've already explained the directory. We haven't explained the iframe focuser yet. What is this saying? What was that? Already included file name iframe focuser differs from file name. Oh, is this the name of the file again being messed up? What happened here? This is not named wrong. I think VS Code's being silly again. We'll get to iframe focuser in a second. I want to show you where it's necessary first. Actually, on that note, I'm going to disable it. I'm going to comment it out here so that we can see it not working before we see it working. And finally, I want to explain the index file before we get to the iframe focuser. Let's open up this index and take a better look at it. Let's ignore the imports, whatever. You need to import shit. So here's the editor instance. I figured out that the editor instance comes from Tinymc, even though the editor comes from Tinymc-React. But I was able to figure out that this editor instance would help me with, it's the correct type for TypeScript. So I have that editor being stored. I'm also using the append file to title, just like I do with some other ones. So the app is like, let's say the app says File Explorer, and then when you load the URL, it's like File Explorer dash the URL, or the base name in this case. So that's what this function's for. And you see here, we have an effect that if there's a file system and an editor, we're going to read the URL. And if there's no problems, then we set it in read-only mode because we got a page. We're going to set the content to that URL data. And then if there was, if there was a URL, well, of course there's a URL. This is a stupid check here. Yeah, that was an unnecessary check. If I'm loaded the URL, I wouldn't have gotten this far if there was no URL. Right? Honestly, I should have checked it here even. There has to, yeah, if there's a URL and there's a file system and there's an editor. Okay, there. So yeah, we set the content and then we append that title, which is just the base name. So in this case, it'd be like leaving Saskatoon.whtml. And here we remove the extension. So just say leaving Saskatoon. And we also have a cleanup function we can use, the destroy one. We do keep that optional because it might not be set at this point. And actually, we could probably get rid of the FS check here and do the same optional there. Because if it goes in here and nothing happens, no big deal. So that explains this hook and what it does. Set foreground ID. What is this for? This is for if I blur out of the editor. This is because the focus is tricky with Tinymc because of this iframe that it has, and also because of these submenus that it has. That's what this piece is here, actually. I almost should name this something else, like focus on submenu. Yeah, I'm gonna make a function for this here. Let's call it focus, or let's say keep focus for submenus, or maybe maintain focus. I like that. Maintain focus. Something about that's funny. Okay, I'm gonna put that in on blur here. That cleans up that part of the line here, and it also gives this a name, which is nice. It can be void. I don't need to return anything. Oh wait, now it doesn't know what this is. Oh, okay. So what was the on blur event is a focus event handler. So we'll just say that this is a focus event handler from React. React.focus event handler. There we go. So back to this function then. It looks for the related target, and if there is no related target, wait. If the related target is an HTML element, I'm trying to understand this code, because only if it blurs from the editor, I only want it to maintain focus in this scenario. So this should be an and, shouldn't it? I hate it when I get these double negatives things. This has to exist. And that. Okay. So this doesn't exist. Wait, if this doesn't... Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. If that were true, then it would go in here. But I don't want that. Yeah, I'm confused on that one. I think it needs to be like this, honestly. So there's related target is an HTML element, and if we query the body, because when you click the menu, the menu gets put into the body instead of a child of Tinymc. So that triggers blurring of the editor. And what I do is I say when there's a blur of the editor, we check is there a related target that's an HTML element, and if it is it happen to be within that submenu area for Tinymc? And if it is, then we want to bring back the focus to the right ID, to our ID, our local ID. So to me that makes more sense. Hopefully I didn't write it wrong. And yeah, that's weird the way it was written before, but it worked. So hopefully this works just the same. That was it, honestly, for changes, because I already explained this use effect. So then we have the styled Tinymc, right? You know about that. That's the one that I made. And I've added the onBlur event for it. And as far as how the editor is initialized, that's just like that demo said. On init, I set that active editor. And then config we've already seen. So I think we're ready to show it here. Let's run that command to update the file system, buildfs. Okay, that's done. Okay, let's jump to the code and see. I feel like we've done all the changes we need to do. Refresh this, clear this. Okay, so in the start menu, we see Tinymc, and when you open it here, as you see, nothing loaded, so it was not in read-only mode, and looks pretty cool to me. I mean, you can edit there, you could say hello, you can change that into a heading, you could insert an image here, let's say. I don't have an image, so let's not say that, but it works pretty much. Maximize window there. You could start, so in the future, I'm gonna start writing my blog entries in my OS and saving them and exporting them, and we'll see how far I can get with that and how deep that can go. So there's the HTML associated with that. Now you see here, if I click here and then I click this, you see how the window did not focus. It didn't go black. But if I click here and then I click the window, it goes black. If I click the text, it's no longer focused. So the reason for that is because this piece right here, this bottom white piece, now as another note, so I click here, and if I click here, you see it did focus. If I click here and click here, it does. So this toolbar piece is part of the window, but this content is actually an iframe that's considered another window, a separate window. So I had to think of a way to basically capture blurs on the entire document window and then see if the thing that blurred, on those blurs, I can see what iframe caused it. And then I can find the iframe and see if it's inside any of the component windows, which I already have references to. So that's the idea of what I've done here so that when I click in here, I get focus. And then the other issue was when I clicked here, you see now it's focusing. Before it wasn't doing that. That's that on blur thing. And if I hover over them, I still lose focus, but that's another battle. I think that's because they get another one of these menus, and I'm gonna make a note of that actually. It's not perfect yet. So let's make a note of that. Tinymc submenus steal window focus. Okay. That's for another day. Now let's look at that iframe one quick. Not quick, we take our time. So here we go. So now when I put the iframe back and we go the iframe hook, the iframe focuser, now when I open Tinymc and you see I click over here, and now if I click in, you see it properly focused. Now let's look at how I did that. So the iframe focuser, there's a lot of code here. Let's look at the small version of this code first, just try to get a wrap our head around this. Let's just here, why iframes for the text area? Well, it's not me that made this text area. That's the basics for it, is that I'm using this Tinymc plugin. The reason I'm using it is because I have a WordPress blog that I've always edited in Tinymc because WordPress uses Tinymc. So I wanted to use Tinymc as my rich text document editor to get that kind of WordPress feel. And Tinymc just uses iframes. If we look at it here and inspect it here, you can see this is the iframe here, this piece. And that's just the way they've decided to implement it. But to be honest, I'm okay with that for now. I've seen other editors implement it a different way. But yeah, that's the reason why it's iframes, is just because I've decided to use Tinymc, which works pretty good for the most part. But it requires, if I want to have that window focus effect, then I need to do this iframe magic. Now, before we dig into that focus iframe function, we can just see here in the use effect, that thing I was saying, where on our main window, document window, I add a blur listener that says when you leave the window, we'll run this function. And it's a passive event listener, which means I don't run prevent default on it. And when this closes, we remove the event listener, but it's not important because if this hook is dead, probably you're leaving the page. Now, as far as what the function does, it checks the document.active element to see if that is an instance of an iframe. I got a message here from Kevin. Import Gutenberg. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. Maybe if you want to elaborate, but that sounds interesting. Oh, maybe Gutenberg you're saying is like a different text editor, perhaps? I haven't heard of it, but I'm actually not even like, oh, Tinymc was the best, I wanted to use that. I'm basically using it literally because of trying to emulate this WordPress experience, to kind of be meta about it, in that before I used to go to WordPress admin and edit in Tinymc, and then you'd see the WYSIWYG version of that. Now I'm letting the user become partly the editor of my own blog posts, kind of. So this function here looks at the active element, and if it's an iframe, Gutenberg is the new WordPress editor. Oh, really? Well, I have a reasonably new version of WordPress, and at least locally, I was still using Tinymc, but perhaps they've changed. When did they change to Gutenberg? Gutenberg, yeah. The new editing experience. Oh, in WordPress 5? I guess I don't have 5. Is 5 beta or is 5 out? Is Gutenberg the name for something that still uses Tinymc in some way? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look very Tinymc-ish. Let me inspect this here. That doesn't look too Tinymc-ish. If I type MCE, is it in there anywhere? Oh, there's something about it in here. It's still partially used. Oh yeah, look at this. Gutenberg WP includes JS Tinymc. Well, it looks like in some way Tinymc is still partially part of it, but I'm not sure, to be honest. How dare you throw a wrench? Maybe 1.5 years ago. Here we go. Gutenberg and Tinymc. What's the difference? What is Gutenberg? Gutenberg is the code name for the new editor experience. Okay. Is Gutenberg replacing Tinymc? The goal is for Gutenberg to replace the classic editor interface in WordPress, not Tinymc. Both Gutenberg and classic editor use aspects of Tinymc under the hood. Oh, okay. Well, there you go, though. I mean, I don't know if I'm right here, but Yeah, I see what you're saying. It looks like they built. It looks like that's the interface. Because I'm actually using the newer version of Tinymc, so maybe I'm using like the Gutenberg-esque version. I'm not sure, to be honest. Tinymc, what version am I using? I think, yeah, I'm using like 5. What is it here? 5.9.1. Yeah, 591. I wonder if that's similar to this WordPress 5 Gutenberg. Anyways, thank you for that. 2008, that article, so 3 years already. Well, but this, I mean, this is from Tinymc, so it'd be interesting to know what the reality of this is now. Classic editor. Well, I was on where, I mean, let me go back to the WordPress page because that's actually a decent explanation for it. Does it talk about Tinymc? It doesn't mention it at all, hey? Well, I don't want to dive too deep into that. I'm going to go with the mentality that perhaps Gutenberg and Tinymc are still in some ways the same. The WordPress Tinymc editor is not reliably maintained. Why were you unable to... Oh, man, this just... I'm getting into a rabbit hole here. Thank you, Kevin. For now, I've got this one. I'll dig into this Gutenberg thing. Let me make a note of that. Let me make a note here. WordPress, what do we call it? 5.0 or 5 greater using Tinymc at all? Gutenberg? Oops, how do you spell Gutenberg? Probably the basic text block uses Tinymc. Okay, well, I'm just using the tiny bit block. Anyways, I'll dig into it. It's interesting. But at least for the open source Tinymc implementation, I've needed to use this one. No, that's fine. I got Kevin here saying sorry, but no, I'm joking if I'm making you say sorry at all, because it's much appreciated. That's a good point. I didn't know about this Gutenberg, but at the same time, I think I have the latest WordPress, and I inspected like a button, and I saw it said Tinymc, and I was like, oh, it's the same. But I don't know if it's the same as this version that I got, the self-hosted version. What else is there to explain as far as the code? I think I just explained it all, honestly. I was demoing it. Let's go back to demoing it quick and see what else there is to demo. Right, I wanted to show an actual blog post now. So if we go into Documents, Blog, here we go. So we got our post here, leavingsaskatoon.whtml. And if we click it, cool. That looks very similar to the one on my page. If we go back to my page here and go to that blog post, where was it here? Leaving Saskatoon. Doesn't look too different, honestly. So that's the blog post there, and then this is my version of it. Now I'm gonna have to think of something for date and title and stuff, and actually I'm happy with it the way it is though. I mean, you see the header here, it's a little small. I can maximize it. You can scroll it. And then, like I said, so you see here when you hover, everything shows as disabled at the top. And if I hover, and you guys can't see the tooltip, but it says here, it says what I expected to say. And then the cool thing here, if I click, there you go. Now all that's enabled. And now someone who's looking at my blog post can be like, oh, I want to edit it and change this, delete that. And then in the future, I'm going to have the ability for them to save it, download it. I mean, they already can download it, but in this case, I don't have saving functionality. It'd be extremely easy to do here. It's just the next step. I'll probably use a button on their context menus to make a save button here, because I like their menu in this case. I'll probably have my own menu bar at some point, but this Tinymc one is probably the one I'll keep for this app at least. Anyways, if I close it and then reopen it, that change won't keep, but it looks cool, I think, so I'm pretty happy with that for now, and it actually fit pretty good. I wonder why the resize is working weird. There we go. It's a little picky, the resize. If I resize from right at the edge, it doesn't really work. And this app, in general, it works fine. I think that might be because of this little icon that they've added. Yeah. Well, it's still okay. It's easier to do it from these sides, probably. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Let's commit this one. Tinymc plus blog post. I think that is it. We have the icons. We had... Everything works, surprisingly, except for these little notes that I made. Let's commit it. Cool. So that's committed. Now let's go back and look at what else I had here for my changes, because I don't think I had many other changes. Episode 35. We did the iframe focuser, the Tinymc. So yeah, this is the Monaco part. I'm not ready to show it yet. I still need to do some other tweaks before we can really get to that. Otherwise, I think I've done everything here. So That was 2 hours. It's a short one, actually. I mean, 2 hours is pretty long, but usually I can do a bit longer with these. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys liked my little tiny MCE app and some of my refactors and had a decent time. If you liked the video, please throw me a like. Thanks to Kevin and Lachlan and Nick Hill and Autobot for throwing some comments in the chat, in the live chat. And anyone feel free to throw comments after. Throw me a subscribe if you want to stick motivate me and stick with the videos that I'm posting. That's about it. So thanks for another successful stream and much appreciated. See you guys next week. Bye.